All right, this is chapter 5, lesson 9, similar figures. So, blank blank are figures that have the same shape but not necessarily the same size. In those two blanks, you're going to write similar figures. Similar figures are figures that have the same shape but not necessarily the same size. If two figures are similar, then the corresponding angles are blank or have the same measure, and the corresponding sides are proportional and opposite corresponding angles. In that blank, you're going to write congruent. So, as you can see from the picture, these two triangles are similar figures. Okay, they're not exactly the same size, but they correspond to the same sides. Each of the sides are corresponding to each other. They have the same ratio. So the measure of A and the measure of X, those angles are the same. The measure of B and Y have the same angle measurement, and C and Z have the same measurement. So that's the congruent part for the corresponding angles. And corresponding sides are proportional. So A and B is proportional to X and Y, BC is proportional to YZ, and AC is proportional to XC. So you can see here with similar figures, triangle ABC is similar, that's what this little squiggle line means, is similar to triangle DEF. Let me make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. Okay, so here's my two triangles. We know that these are similar triangles to each other, which means that they have congruent angles. So you can see that this angle is congruent to angle D, B is congruent to angle E, and C is congruent to angle F. That's why we said ABC in the same order, DEF, okay, same order. So we know which are congruent to each other. So A is congruent, that's what this symbol means. The equal sign with the little squiggly on top, that's what congruent means. Okay? So A is congruent to D, angle B is congruent to angle E, angle C is congruent to angle F. Okay? My sides are all proportional, so 5 to 10, 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. They all equal 1/2, which is the scale factor. So figure ABCD is similar to figure EFGH. In symbols, ABCD is similar, that's what this symbol means, to EFGH. Okay. So these angles, A is congruent to angle E, okay, and I'm just going in order. B is congruent to F, C is congruent to G, and D is congruent to H. That's the order they put me in, that's the order they put the second one in, congruent one in. Similar figures have blank blank. Okay, in those two blanks, you're going to write corresponding parts. Okay. Similar figures have corresponding parts. So these are angles and sides in the same position. So again, corresponding angles, A to E, C to G, B to F, D to H, and then the sides AB to EF, CD to GH, they're corresponding sides. Since corresponding sides are proportional, you can use a proportion or the scale factor to determine the measures of the sides of similar figures when some measures are known. So, for example, the figures are similar, find each missing measure. So, looking at this, I have 4, 6, 12, and X. So this is what I'm trying to find. Okay, I know triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF. The corresponding angles are congruent and the corresponding sides are proportional. So that means BC and EF are proportional to each other, just like AC and DF are proportional to each other. So I can set up a proportion and solve. 6 over X equals 4 over 12. Okay? When I do that, I multiply by the butterfly. 6 times 12 equals x times 4. Divide both sides by 4, so 72 divided by 4 is 18. So the length of EF is 18 centimeters. Okay. For letter B, I have 28, 49, D, and 4, so I need to figure out what the length of XW is. So figure RSTU is similar to figure WXYZ. The corresponding sides are proportional. Okay, so it's really important to note that they said RSTU and WXYZ. Okay, so here RSTU, WXYZ. So they went backwards. So you have to make sure that you're corresponding to the correct sides. Okay, so RS and WX are going to be proportional to each other, and RU and WZ or ZW are going to be proportional to each other. So 49 over D equals 28 over 4. Okay, multiplied by the butterfly, 49 times 4 and D times 28, so 196 equals 28D. Okay, I divide both sides by 28, so I get 7. So D is 7, so the length of WX is 7 feet. The next thing I want to talk about is scale factor. So in your packet, if you have a packet, you actually want to flip back 2 pages to scale factor. They're a little bit out of order. Okay. So scale factor, we can recall that the scale factor is the ratio of a length on a scale drawing to the corresponding length on the real object. It is also the ratio of corresponding sides in similar figures. So if I wanted to find the scale factor, I can take a look at my picture right here. So let's find the scale factor. Okay. So I can see that these 2 triangles are similar to one another. Okay. They have the same angles, they're congruent angles. Okay. Then I picked 2 sides. Okay. So in this case, EF was the only one I had one for. So EF over BC, because these are the ones that are congruent to each other or similar to each other. Okay. So EF was 12, BC was 6, so 12 over 6. I divide both sides by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2, 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 2 is my scale factor. Okay. If I do the same thing and I flip it, BC to EF, well, BC is 6, EF is 12. I can divide both of these by 6. So this gives me 1/2. So scale factor 1/2. So if I'm going from big to small, I'm scaling down to 1/2, and I'm going from small to big, I'm scaling up to 2. The next thing I want to talk about is this example. So an architect is using similar triangles to design a decorative window. For the entrance of a new office building. If triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, so here's ABC and DEF, okay? Find the length of segment DF, this segment right here, okay? So the first thing that I want to do is find the scale factor from triangle DEF to ABC by finding the ratio of corresponding sides with the known lengths. So I'm going from DEF to ABC. So DEF is the smaller one, so it's going to be a larger number. So I know that BC is 18, and that corresponds to EF, which is 9. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. Okay. 2 times a length of triangle DEF is a corresponding length on triangle ABC. So let M represent the measure of DEF. So 2M equals 25.5. Which is here, AC, because I knew DF is the similar side. Okay. So whenever I multiply 2 by, it has to give me 25.5 because I'm going from small to big. Okay, so I need to divide both sides by 2. So M equals 12.75 inches. Okay, let me just go over that one more time to make sure we have everything. Okay, If you don't feel comfortable with the scale factor and figuring out, are you going from small to big or big to small? Okay, it's really helpful to look at, okay, I'm missing the small one, so that means I'm going from small to big. So my big number needs to be on top and my smaller number needs to be on the bottom, so I have a bigger scale factor. Okay? So the reason I was looking at AC is because they asked me to find the length of segment DF. DF is right here. That's what corresponds. So my triangle was ABC to DEF. Okay? EF is what I had, which means BC was what corresponded to EF. Okay? And then DF corresponds to AC. You can still set up a proportion. If you did, you would do 18 over 9 equals 25.5 over x, or whatever your variable was, and multiply, you'll still get 12.75. So there are a couple of try it out problems. I want you to go ahead, pause the video, try them out, and when you're done, we'll go over the answers together. All right, now that you've had a chance to try out the try problems, let's go over the answers together. So for the first two problems, it's asking me to figure out the missing length. So for 1A, I have 5B, 30, and 24, okay? So I know that these are similar to each other. So BPS, which is 30, okay, over LO, okay, and that's going to be equal to SR over ON, okay? So I did PS, which is right here, LO, okay, and then SR, because I used PS, so I have to have SR on the top, and then ON. When I do this, I get 30. Okay, so when I do this, I get 30 over 5 equals 24 over B, okay? You don't have to set it up this way. You could actually flip these. You could have 5 over 30 and B over 24. That's fine. You'll get the same answer. Okay, so I multiply by the butterfly. Okay, so I get 30B equals 24 times 5. Which gives you 120. Then I divide both sides by 30, so B equals 4 centimeters. Okay. For letter 1B, okay, I need to find A, JK. Okay. So I need to figure out which angles correspond to which. So this one, triangle GHI is similar to triangle JKL. Okay, JKL, GHI. So that means I need to find JK. Okay, and that corresponds. JK is from 1 to 2, so that's GH, and that's equal to KL over HI, okay? So when I do this, I get A over 10 equals 14 over 7, okay? Multiply by the butterfly, I get 7A equals 140. I divide both sides by 7. So A equals 8 centimeters. All right, number 2 says a rectangular blue tile has a length of 4.25 inches and a width of 6.75 inches. A similar red tile has a length of 12.75 inches. What is the width of the red tile? So I'm going to go ahead and set up a proportion. I'm going to do length over my width. So the first one I'm going to do is my blue tile. So my length was 4.25 and my width was 6.75, and that's going to equal my length of my red tile, 12.75, and I don't know the width. Okay? Multiply by the butterfly. Okay? So I get 4.25x equals 12.75 times 6.75 gives me 86.0625. Then I divide both sides by 4.25. So x equals 20.25 inches. Okay? For number 3, the logo for an electronics store is made from similar trapezoids as shown. What is the length of the missing measure? Okay? So, for this one, the bottom base is 16, the top base is 8, then the bottom base is 8, top base is 4, bottom base is 4, and I have to figure out the top base. So I can set up a proportion. So 16 over 8, so top or bottom and top, equals 8 over 4 equals 4 over x. Okay? You only have to solve one of these proportions. You can use either the 16 over 8 or the 8 over 4. I'm going to use the 8 over 4 because it's smaller numbers. Multiply by the butterfly. 4 times 4 is 16. 8 times x is 8x. Divide both sides by 8. So x equals 2. And that is the end of Chapter 5, Lesson 9.